become easier. You don't necessarily notice the interpreter there anymore.
Yeah, and trust me, this is for you and for the audience. My level of uncomfort is minimal. Okay, I will get used to this by all means. This is, to me, this is one of the most exciting things that I've done with an online discussion. The idea that we can be now communicating with all people through an interpreter is so exciting to me. So I'm hoping that everybody can now, I'm just going to check chat here and just, I'm hoping that folks are able to see the interpreter now. And we will do whatever we can. So Jenny, I think I'm going to turn the program over to you. I think what you're going to do first is just make sure everybody understands what Maryland Relay is and how the program works. And then you'll bring on our panel members who are going to talk about technology. And it looks like everybody can see folks now. Does that sound good?
Sounds great, Steve. Okay. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to drop behind the curtain now. And what I will do is when questions come up, I will pop back on so that the interpreter can see me, and I will read the questions that you have in the audience. And those of you in the audience, remember, you can ask your questions two ways. You can type them in using the Q&A box, or you can raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you and you can verbally share your question.
Okay, thanks again, Steve, for having Maryland Relay as a sponsor this month. For those of you that are not familiar with Maryland Relay, we are a free public service through the Department of Disabilities of the state of Maryland. We are under the Telecommunications Access of Maryland program in conjunction with the Maryland Accessible Telecommunications program, which we're going to dive into much more deeply a little bit later on in the presentation. I am an outreach coordinator for Maryland Relay, and what my job is typically travel throughout the state of Maryland, talking to people about our program. We are telecommunications access for individuals who have difficulty using a standard telephone. That may be as a result of difficulties with hearing, vision, speech, mobility limitations, perhaps cognitive disabilities, even memory loss. Through our services, we are able to provide access, equal access to telecommunications through all Marylanders at no cost to them. So all of our services are free. You will never be charged for them. The only thing that some of our services and equipment would require a telephone line. But other than that, there's no other charge. So today we're going to be featuring our our Maryland Accessible Telecommunications program. We're going to call that MAT for short, because as you can see, I get tongue-tied with all the acronyms. So we're going to call it the MAT program today. With me today, I have Kevin and Jane. They are a part of that MAT program that distributes equipment to individuals that need it across the state of Maryland. So right now, I'm going to turn things over to Kevin and Jane. They're going to talk to you a little bit about what the MAT program is, how to get involved, and some of the really amazing technology that's available through that program. So Kevin and Jane, I'd like to invite you to the screen and take it away.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for that generous introduction. Thank you, Steve, as well, for including us today. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Steffi, and I am the MAT manager. My colleague here with me, Jane Hager, is one of our evaluators for the MAT program.
It's nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having us.
Outstanding. MAT is one of the programs under Maryland Relay. We are parts of the same department, and we distribute accessible communication equipment for folks with disabilities in Maryland who qualify for this program. by which I mean you would have a disability such as hearing loss, you would be blind, also hearing and vision loss together. Maybe you would have a speech or cognitive or mobility disability. And you would also be under a certain income threshold, which is 400% below the poverty level. And of course, you would be a Maryland resident and age 3 or above. The way that you would apply for this program is to fill out one of these. Here is an application for the MAT program. It requires also some documentation that would be submitted along with it to attest to all of your conditions that would possibly qualify you. And then we would be in touch with you to set up an appointment after your application is processed. That could be virtual or in person. In this environment, we give people the options to do so remotely if and wherever possible. If not, then we do meet folks in person with the appropriate safety precautions, PPE, sanitizers, social distancing, and the rest. And we have evaluators that work with us because there are upwards of 40 different telecommunications devices, and we really need to see where someone is to make an appropriate match of what kind of equipment they would need to have an accessible telephone experience. So we do test hands-on with some of the devices and make then an order to the manufacturer, which does sometimes take upwards of a few weeks. Once that equipment is in hand, it might require further training, and we're always very happy to deliver that training and give our time for that. Once a piece of equipment is in use, should one's disability become worsened, maybe vision loss will become more so, or hearing loss will become more so, then we can reevaluate. And it might be that a different device or a different piece of equipment would be more appropriate at that level of disability. There are 10 evaluation centers throughout the state of Maryland. You could go there, or we could, of course, pay a home visit if you're not able to get to one of the centers. At this stage, I'm going to show you 4 pieces of equipment for telecommunications purposes that I think would be a great benefit to this audience. The first one is the Trustee iPad. Thank you, Jane. You see here. This doesn't only benefit people with a singular disability, also people with multiple disabilities. You might have a hearing impairment, a speech impairment, a vision impairment, which would be very nice to use. There are lots of apps that can meet the needs of those various categories or those various overlapping categories. For example, if we have a deaf client, there would be the opportunity to use a video phone. And I don't know if you are familiar with what video phones are or the use of video relay services would entail, but as you see now, we have an interpreter with us who is facilitating communication between parties who sign and parties who speak. That's kind of what you would see in a telephony situation as well, making and receiving phone calls in the same kind of way. Also, people who are speech impaired would be able to click on icons that are provided in an app. Those icons would then initiate a spoken version for the other party to hear. It could also output text as that icon to speech or icon to text or speech app can be used. There are also 2 different sizes, as you see here. And it really would depend on one's vision. If you were not able to use the mini, because maybe the font would be too small or the images would be too small, you can use the standard sized iPad. And Kevin is freezing for the interpreter. Don't know if he's freezing for the audience. There he came back. Okay, we're good. And this is the case that is used. This is, of course, a protective case so that the screen does not shatter. It ships with a 3-year warranty. A second device is called touchtalk. And this is one, you're good, Steve? You're muted, my friend.
Sorry. I wanted to jump in with a question that somebody was hoping that you could please identify the iPad app.
Oh, you know what? There are several apps. It really depends entirely on one's disability. The evaluators themselves, when they meet with a potential client, they are charged with going through kind of a diagnostic of the disability and making an appropriate recommendation. On occasion, apps come and go, and so we do try to stay up to date.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely, you're very welcome, Steve. The second device I wanted to show you is called touchtalk, which operates in a similar way to an iPad. It is a tablet, which is not an Apple product. And it comes with a carrier case, as you see here. This would be good for speech impaired folks if they have a stroke, if they have the inability or the difficulty to create speech sounds, if they can touch an icon, they can use a word-by-word kind of delivery of the output of speech, or they can create phrases with icons, or they can use the keyboard that will create speech sounds. You can choose a male or female voice. You can choose, depending on race, you have Black, white, Asian, Indigenous, etc. options that are set, depending on how you want to be represented in that audible speech sound. This is, unfortunately, I have to show you an image of the device because I don't have a physical piece of equipment on hand. The third device, I'm going to allow Jane to talk about, as well as the fourth. Over to you, Jane.
Okay. First, can you hear me okay? Okay, great, wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about a couple different devices we have that are really great solutions for people that have hearing loss. The first one is called the Pixel 4 cell phone. I have one right here. It's a pretty typical Android phone, but I describe it as the perfect toolbox for people that have hearing loss. Why? Because in the design itself, it has the ability to take a phone call and provide you, the user, with captioning of what the person you're talking to is saying. That to me is like wonderful. It's just so great. In addition to that, it has an app on it that's called Live Transcribe. Live Transcribe works very similar to that, but it actually captions real-time communication. I'm going to show you that right now, as soon as I can get into it. Okay, so here's my screen. And as you can see, it's translating everything I say, speech to text. This is just such a great solution. For example, if you're in a meeting and you can't follow what's going on, you can pull out your cell phone, turn on live transcribe and get this translation. It's really wonderful. There are a couple of downsides about using any of this kind of technology, and this is called automated speech recognition software. If right now during this meeting, you have the live transcript on, you're seeing automated speech recognition technology at work. And that's the same kind of thing that's going on in the Pixel 4 cell phone in either the live caption for the phone calls or live transcribe in just an everyday conversation. What you have to watch out for in situations where you're using any kind of technology that has ARS, automated speech recognition, ASR, sorry, is that it can sometimes not quite get what the person is saying, and that can be pretty hilarious. It can also be dangerous. So you just have to be careful about using it like that. In addition to that, the Pixel 4 has an app on it that's called the Sound Amplifier. If you're using headphones or earbuds, it can almost act like a personal sound amplification device, similar to hearing aids, but not as prescriptive as hearing aids. So this is it's an excellent tool. The one other very unique feature to the Pixel 4 is called the Google Recorder. Again, this is an app that provides the speech to text translation, but the Google Recorder, unlike live transcribe, does not need to connect to a data service. So you don't have to be connected to Wi-Fi or a cell phone service in order to use the transcriptioning app of Google Recorder. And that is really unique and special. Imagine if you were a person with a severe hearing loss. I just have so many life experiences with this. I have a very, very severe hearing loss, wear 2 hearing aids, depend on lip reading, which was horrible during the epidemic with masks. But going into a doctor's office, trying to understand what the doctor is saying, you can turn on Google Recorder, get the transcript of what he's saying, plus you can keep it so that later on, if you need to look back and say, oh, what were the details about that medicine during that conversation, you can actually look back at that transcription and get it. Same is somewhat true for live transcribe, but live transcribe only holds that kind of information for 3 days. Google Recorder will keep it forever. So that's what is so cool about the Pixel 4 cell phone. And we are so delighted to be able to offer this to our customers through the Maryland Accessible Telecommunication Program. The other device I'm going to talk to you about is called the Clarity XLC8 GLT. This is a phone that operates through a combination of landline and internet. So here is the device itself. Here is the base. The device itself has some fantastic features, such as the ability to amplify your incoming calls up to 50 decibels. It also uses a tone feature. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. It's called the Clarity XLC8 GLT. And what all that means, I have no idea. I know the GLT means go live transcribe. So anyway, so this phone has great features. The amplification, you can adjust that. Tone is so important. For people that have hearing loss, Normally, we can understand some tones better than others. To switch through a different choice of tones is going to bring in the caller's voice to a better clarity by changing the pitch of their voice to something that we can understand better. It also has on it a feature called Slow Talk. And there's a button up here that has the word slow written on it. And when you activate that feature, it has the ability to slow the other person's voice down a little bit. This is also super helpful for people who have hearing loss because your brain is working very hard to keep up with a conversation. It's filling in all the missing gaps. The slow feature actually slows the caller's voice down just a little bit. And sometimes that gives the brain enough time to fill in those missing gaps and stay current with what's being said. So this unique thing about this phone, besides having these great features just to talk on the phone, if you're a person like me, I can understand very low pitches perfectly. Foghorns, I love them. Owls, I can hear them without my hearing aid. Very cool. Unfortunately, there's a lot of high-pitched voices in the world too, and those I can't hear at all. So this phone connects with a tablet. This tablet is preloaded with Live Transcribe. When the two connect, you get this. So for a person calling you, if this is connected and on, you have that transcript of what they're saying to you. You also at the same time get your own voice captioned in the process. But it can really make the difference in being able to understand who you're talking to. One thing, again, with any of the automated speech recognition software that you have to watch out for is sometimes it won't be accurate. If a person has an accent or any kind of speech impediment, you've got to be careful. And always, the best thing to do in situations like this.
She's a little bit freezy for the interpreter. Don't know if you lost her too, Steve.
I'm using a device that is captioning for me, and you need to speak clearly and slow down a little bit. And that's when I'm going to understand the best and get the best use out of these devices. So I'm sorry.
Right. Oh, no, this is great. This is fascinating. And you both are doing a wonderful job. We had a question on that last phone. Can you repeat what that is called, the name of that last phone that you talked about?
Okay, so this is the XLC8, number 8, dash GLT, G as in girl, LT. The other device, this is the Pixel 4 cell phone. It's made by Google.
Great. Another one person in our audience made a comment that they just downloaded Live Transcribe to their iPhone and that it costs $49 a year for subscription.
Okay, so I would thank you. I'm glad somebody brought that up. I got too excited about things. So the Live Transcribe is a free app available to Android users only, unfortunately. If a person has an iPhone, a similar app is Otter AI. However, Otter AI is limited in the amount of hours you can use. I think it's maybe up to 6 hours a month. And then there's a charge. It's not too much, but there is a monthly subscription for Otter AI. But
okay.
Live Transcribe for Android is free and free to use at all times.
Okay. And so for the person that just downloaded that to their iPhone, usually the Apple apps give you a small window where you can get a refund. So you might try the Otter AI, see which one you like best. But if money is an issue, which it is with everybody. One of my questions when he talked about the $49 a month was, I was wondering, is there a way that the Maryland Relay or the Virginia Relay or the Relay programs can cover the cost of a subscription if somebody needed to download that or wanted to download that?
Unfortunately, this is Kevin speaking. Hello. Unfortunately, there is not. However, in some states, there exists a discount program for such internet-based products. In Maryland, there's a link I can send over to you, or maybe Jenny can send over to you to talk about that.
Great.
Mind you, the program can do discounts in some cases, but sometimes the connectivity is you get what you pay for. I'll be honest.
Great. Okay. I'm going to go behind the curtain again.
Okay, all right. And then I did just want to stress that the XLCHGLT, sorry, it does require a landline as well as internet. When it is provided to people, it comes with everything that you need. This is a connection to make that internet stronger, to provide the service to get really accurate live transcribe through the tablet. But you do need both the internet and a landline. So I think, you know, that's about it. And also with the Pixel 4 cell phone, you do have to have your own cell phone service. We provide the equipment, but not the service. So happy to answer any other questions or.
Yep. And if I may, this is Kevin.
Back over to Kevin.
Yeah, I did want to add one other thing. Thank you, Jane. For the iPad or the touchtalk, you do require a Wi-Fi connection in order to operate the apps. If you just use it as a standalone, it's not going to work. And there is no monthly service fee for using those apps. But again, you do require some kind of connection, like a Wi-Fi connection. Awesome. So we're happy to take further questions now. If you have any, we're here to answer them.
Great. Wow, this has been really interesting, and just as interesting as the technology is this new form of communication to me with the interpreter. I just love it. I'm blown away. There was a question
Indeed.
related to what apps would be installed on the iPad, and I'm wondering if you might share with us some of the apps that that you found useful for yourselves and for your clients that might be out there currently for people to look into.
This is Kevin speaking. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I've just gotten back from 2 weeks vacation. My iPad battery is quite dead. Jane, do you have one? Do you have an iPad? No, unfortunately, we don't have a live iPad right now. That we could do that another time. But there are any number of really robust apps for lots of different kinds of disabilities. If you are deaf, I would say there are 4 different video phone companies who do provide apps as well to use that. That would be Sorensen, Convo, CONVO, Purple, and Z VRS. So if you have a speech disability, Pro, Low, Quo, To Go. That's a 2 as in, do you want me to type that in the chat? Let me type that in the chat. To Go. Is that right? Excellent.
Wow. I almost feel like it would be worthwhile to just interview the interpreter. I am just blown away at how you can do all of this sign language, type in things to chat, get it right every time. You are amazing.
Well, you know, we roll with the punches as technology comes along, so says Kevin, but it's quite interesting. My young children, the younger generation, have stuff that's even better than my stuff. Like they're multitasking A to Z 24/7. Can you imagine what my grandchildren will look like? Like they'll just be unbelievable. Yeah. That there was a question in the chat. Please type the previous one. Maybe the four relay companies. I think they're asked for the names of the four relay companies.
Well, was there?
Right. So for video relay service, yes, he wants you to type the name of the four relay companies, please. Yep. Cool. Can do.
Okay. And
what about caption call is also the question. I think he can see that. One sec, once we have Kevin's eyes back.
And while Kevin is typing that in, I just wanted to add that the program itself provides a limited number of apps that come with the iPad. And that's per whatever disability category, you know, a person has. But once the person receives the iPad, they can download any app that they want. They just have to pay for it themselves.
Great.
Correct. This is Kevin speaking. For the captioning apps. Caption call, yes, that is one. WCI, which is a CapTel service. Also Hamilton Relay has one. And there are others that I can't recruit to memory at the moment. Oh, you know what? Innovate. What's it called? Innovate, Jane?
Yeah.
Yep. Some of them have gone the way of all the earth, and there are new ones coming all the time. And so we just have to keep current on that. Such as Jane mentioned, if a particular client gets an iPad from Matt, from us, and they might prefer an app other than the ones that we install, you are more than welcome to go out there and install whatever app you choose.
Great. We have a question from Betty. And she says, you said you must be 400% under poverty level, but can you be eligible if you have savings or property? I'm not sure when you referred to what you were referring to with under the poverty level.
Right. It is based on your income. So if your income is 400% of poverty, if you are, we'll call it low income, or if you were on some kind of social assistance program or food stamps or whatever we call that nowadays, or if you work, say, part-time, there's a threshold for the entire household. If you are living by yourself, I think you could earn up to, you know what, it changes every year. Don't even quote me on this, Betty. Given the federal standard, I think it's $45,000 a year for a single person that would still qualify you. If you have a spouse, then it goes up to $80,000. If you have a dependent child, it will change again. The formula really depends on the constitution of one's household.
Yeah, so we've had some other programs on like this in the past where, and Betty, I don't know if this is helpful, is that obvious if you own a property and you're not earning income off of that, then it's not reported income. And then in addition, if you had savings that you're not using the income, you may qualify. But I would just reach out to the program and they will help you through the application.
Absolutely. Well said, Steve. This is Kevin speaking. There are any number of situations that really require a conversation to see whether or not one would qualify for the financial threshold of the program. And it would be a matter of your prior year's tax returns, and Jane is asking a question of him off camera that the interpreter can't quite see all of. Let me get you on camera, Jane.
We also wanted to mention that if a person doesn't qualify based based on income or other criteria, that we can still do a consultation and, you know, do kind of the same evaluation process, show equipment and so forth, and then refer them to companies that they can purchase the equipment from.
Several questions here, and this always happens because our audience is growing so large, is that we have requests for the programs in Virginia and Pennsylvania. They're really easy to find because they're both just like Maryland Relay. It's PA Relay and VA Relay, and we'll drop their website addresses into the chat for you there. But Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe just about every state in the country has some sort of relay program that is similar to Maryland Relay, but there are differences.
So this is Jenny. Every state has a relay program. Not every state has an equipment program. So if you are in a state outside of Maryland, I encourage you to look it up on Google, maybe just Google your state and relay services, and then reach out to those programs to see what they do provide as far as equipment and that sort of thing. And Kevin also suggested to contact TEDPA, TEDPA.org. Then you can find more information about that there.
Okay, and from time to time.
This is Kevin as well, if I may. Jenny is correct in saying that not every state will have an equipment distribution program.
Okay.
Unfortunately, for example, Delaware has no such program in our region. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, they're all covered. DC is not, however. So it's catch as catch can. If you live in Delaware or DC, but do want to see some equipment, I do suggest that you get in touch with your legislature and have them draft a bill to add an equipment distribution program to your state statute. It's super vital, super important. We strongly encourage you to do that. And again, it's called an equipment distribution program.
A question came up when we were introducing the interpreter, and they were asking, is your program tomorrow going to have an interpreter? And I have not scheduled one, but out of curiosity, does Maryland Relay or any of these relay programs work with interpreters to make them available at a reduced rate for people that might prefer to have an interpreter?
This is Jenny. We actually do not provide interpreters. There are a number of agencies in and around Maryland that are happy to supply interpreters, but we are strictly telecommunications access. If you want more information about scheduling interpreters or interpreting agencies, I strongly encourage people to reach out to the Office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing. It is a state agency. I believe, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe their website is odhh.gov, I think. Yes, Tarita just
ODHH dot, what's it again? G ODHH? G, he'll type it in. He's all kind of crazy for me, y'all. I do apologize. There we go. Tarita's got it in there.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I know many of the people in the audience are.
Yeah, that's the governor's office.
Oh.
So it's GODHH now.
Many of the people in the audience are attending events like this, but also organizing events like this. So to know that an interpreter could be involved in an event, whether you're a participant or an organizer, I think is a wonderful thing. This is a unique element. Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
This is Kevin. This is Kevin speaking, if I may. Not only providing interpreters, but also captioning in real time. Remote conference captioning, or as it is now known, RCC, is a brand spanking new addition to the MAT menu, and it is awesome in what it can do. It's really good for things such as a Zoom meeting like we're in now.
All right, well, this is the time when I like to remind our audience, if you've got any questions or comments, or you'd like to make a statement, please do so. And while we're waiting to see if any additional questions, comments come in, I will turn it over to Jenny and Kevin and Jane if there's any additional information that you would like our audience to know about.
This is Jenny, and I just wanted to let everybody know that we, as outreach coordinators, we have a team of 3 outreach coordinators with Maryland Relay, and we are giving webinars all of the time about the information that we share about Maryland Relay, our services. That includes caption telephone, it includes traditional relay services, RCC. So if you're interested in booking a webinar to learn more about Maryland Relay, please feel free to reach out to me, or Tarita is also on the call, as well as Rebecca Miller. We are the 3 outreach coordinators in Maryland, and we're happy to set up a webinar if you want more information. And Tarita and Rebecca, if you want to put your contact information in the chat as well, we'd be happy to work with you. We also are looking for businesses to partner with to learn more about Maryland Relay and how you can use our services to reach out to folks who may be interested in your services or your products that are using Maryland Relay to make phone calls. So that is our Maryland Relay partner training, and we are available to give those trainings as well.
Excellent. And I am glancing at the questions in the chat, and we're getting nothing but bravo to all, and people are very excited about this, what we've shared today. So if we don't have any questions coming through here, then I would say we can wrap up the discussion today.
This is Jenny. Once again, Steve, I want to thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to not only be the sponsor for the month, but to have this discussion with folks. I think it's really important for people to know what resources are out there, particularly senior serving professionals that may be working with folks who are struggling on the phone. We can definitely be a resource. So thank you again for this opportunity.
One of the things, reflecting on some of the technology you shared with us today, is a lot of this we already have in our own homes, and our clients have them in their own homes. Learning about the convert to text on the phone, knowing that this resource is available, these are things that we can use with our clients, our parents, our grandparents, our kids, and so I'm really glad that you've helped us become more aware of these things. Betty says, Betty has a question, and she asks, is there a waiting list or limited funds with the program? So if somebody qualifies, can they get services, or is there a waiting list?
Oh, not at all, Betty. If you qualify, it's off to the races, and there's no waiting list. Unless, however, if the supply chain for manufacturing is run dry in this environment, it might be a while before, after ordering you a piece of equipment, until you would receive it. But we always have full disclosure and are very transparent to our customers to know when to expect things.
Isn't it funny how the only time you ever heard supply chain before COVID-19 was in a college textbook, and now it seems like every other day we are talking about supply chain. Okay, well, Betty says thank you, and I want to thank everybody on the panel and the audience for another great discussion. And I hope everybody joins us tomorrow as we finish off our month and we move into Memorial Day weekend. It's right around the corner.
Applause, applause.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin and Jane.
Thank you all very much indeed.